addressing and replying the comments in the Upsampling rapid fire Q&A video that I posted a couple of days ago, because it's very much needed, and we'll also do some tests. Let's do it. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixbusTv. Hope you're having a great day. Before we start, if you like the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, check the info box down below for more mixing courses, discounts on plugins, and if you want to support the channel, we have a bunch of t-shirts down there and a Patreon page. Let's get to the video. I posted a couple of days ago in the new rapid fire Q&A a video about upsampling from 44.1 to 96 or higher. And many people were thankful for that. And I thought that was a subject that pretty much everyone had pretty clear that I could just address in a quick question and answer. But so many comments and I noticed so many people are still so very confused about it. So I think this video is much needed to address some of the comments and also to do some testing in Pro Tools. There are several things going through the comments that are not clear for many, and then they are slightly different subject. So first of all, that video is about upsampling an audio file that was recorded at 4410 or 48 to a higher sample rate after. When you record the file, the sample rate, it's dictated by your converter. So that is your ceiling. If you record a 44.1, that is gonna be the quality of your file because it's something the converter did. So you cannot change that. There's no way you can change that, okay? Same as if you recorded a 16-bit instead of 24-bit. There's no way. That is gonna be the file that you have. That's gonna be the quality that you have. The fact that you can technically import it in a higher sample rate session, like I'm gonna do in the test in a minute, and your DAW will automatically convert it and upsample it, it doesn't mean that it actually upsample the quality of it. Like I explained in that video, the remaining part of the file is going to get bigger, but that part that is added is just zero. There's no more information. There's no more depth in the detail of the audio quality. But some people got that concept, which is strictly regarding the audio file, and somewhat transfer it to how plugin work in a higher sample rate session in Pro Tools or any other DAW, and the fact that some plugins, most actually, work better if they run into a higher sample rate session, which is true, but it's a completely different concept than upsampling your audio files, okay? We'll get to that. And then also there was some confusion between upsampling the audio file and the oversampling, the internal oversampling of plugins. So let's clarify that first. Whether or not you're running your session at 44.1 or 88.2 or 96, if a plugin has oversampling built in and you process the file with that plugin, with oversampling engaged, the oversampling will happen. But it's not that the plugin will upsample your sample rate, your audio file sample rate, and then treat it. No, it's an internal architecture inside the plugin. The same way as if you record a 24-bit with your converter, and then you run a session at 32-bit floating point, it's not that your files have any more bit depth. It's just internal structure of your DAW. The plugins that have oversampling is just internal computation, okay? That is a higher sample rate, that is more CPU demanding to avoid, possibly aliasing, but also this is a discussion, a whole different discussion. Oversampling is not even necessarily the best way to deal with aliasing, which is a concept that is blown out of proportion because of the YouTube community. Story for another day. If you want, we will get on that. People like to talk about popular subjects and regurgitate things because they're popular, they get views. I don't really care about views. I care about giving you the right information. But if you want, we will talk about the anti-aliasing Someday it's just I don't engage in those kind of things because it's troll territory. So anyway, we got this. Internal oversampling of plugins happens no matter what your session is at, what sample rate you're running. 44.1, 96, oversampling is happening inside the plugin. One of the comments that really like made me decide to do this video, because I was like, yeah, no, that's way too much confusion if people think this. It was this comment that you can read, excuse the guy for the not clear English, but how project was recorded and how it was mixed, it's two big differences. You can record something with 44.1 but mix it in double resolution to achieve less aliasing artifacts in total, which is it's not that. So if someone asks me how to prepare tracks for mastering, I tell the truth. You have to upsample the project to achieve as less as possible aliasing artifacts. So on mastering stage, I can deal with this with a careful way. Okay. All caps aside, no, that's not the truth, and no, you don't have to. And we will test that, and I'll show you. Upsampling your file would not do anything. Running a session a higher sample rate because plugins will potentially work better, maybe. Perfect coding of plugin would be that a plugin does not behave any differently from where you use it at 44.10 or 96. Unfortunately, that's ideal. That's perfect case scenario. The truth is, most times that's not the case. Most plugins do behave differently at 96 or a 44.1. This is not predictable. It's not something you can bank on that is gonna sound better, okay? So then he goes on to saying, take a 44.1 a vocal track, place an LA to a plugin with some push to start saturation on it, and then print it with 88.2 rate. Then look in the spectrum what lay behind 22K. Again, what's behind 22K, it doesn't really matter anyway because you're gonna export a 16-bit and 44.1. Foldback aliasing, he goes on saying if we talk about mastering, if we will work with 44.1 printed mix, we will have all these extra samples in the audible area of spectrum. No, there's no samples. There's no extra samples. If anything is artifacts or inharmonic distortion, what he calls then a foldback aliasing. That again, I don't even want to go into that discussion. Aliasing is kind of an old problem. Okay, it's not really out there anymore with the new generation of plugins, especially saturation plugins that have oversampling, and even the ones who are not. It's so blown out of proportion that it's not even funny. Do you want to run your session higher because plugins work better? Up to you. But the audio files that you have, the quality of them, it will not change. Okay, and the possible benefit of running a higher sample rate session because of plugins, again, it depends on the plugins. Better, maybe. Different, for sure. Different thing is then if you use outboard gear. And someone mentioned CLA, that he upsamples all his sessions because of course he uses a lot, it goes out in the console and everything else. And then he recapture. This also goes for mastering. Let's say you receive a mix that is 44.1 and you go out from your converters and you recapture. At that point, of course, you want to recapture at the highest possible sample rate for two reasons. One, it's because the additional ADDA trip that you need for mastering or for mixing hybrid, so going in and out converters to go into the outboard and come back in, is a detrimental process. Okay, it will not make your audio better. The best converter in the world can limit the damage the most. That's the best you can hope for. When you go out from your converter, you will lose something. We go out from our converters and we use outboard gear because what we gain is more than what we lose, especially with modern converters. But it doesn't matter how good your converter is. You can use a burl, you can use a head crane song, you can use whatever you want. That process is detrimental to the audio. So of course you want to limit the damage as much as possible by recapturing a higher sample rate. It doesn't matter at that point that the mix was given to you at 44.1, you're going out. That becomes, again, an analog signal again. You go into the machine, so you want to also, the second reason, you want to capture all the nuances of the units, the hardware that you use. So it's obvious that you recapture at a higher sample rate. But that's not upsampling the file that you had. That file will still be 44.1. The quality of it, the depth, okay, the detail is gonna be the same. You want to capture all the things that you do with your hardware the best way possible, so you recapture at a higher sample rate. That makes sense, okay? But again, it's completely different than upsampling in the box, because there's a whole ADDA round trip going on right now. So completely different subjects, okay? I hope this clarified these three things. And then now I want to do some tests. So let's get to the Pro Tools page. Okay, for this test, I picked a simple clip of one of my voiceover for a video that was recorded at 24-bit 44.1. I imported this file into a session that is, let me show you, 88.2. This file was, once I imported it, I was converted to 88.2. It was originally a 44.1. Now, I did, as you can see, 3 exports. The first one, you can see I exported it at 16-bit 44.1, okay? And I put this file into a folder with that name. Then I exported a 32-bit 441. And then I exported a 24-bit 441. I'm gonna open a session at 44.1 and import these files and compare it. We'll do a null test with the original file at 44.1, not converted. So in this session, which is 44.1, let me show you, we have the original file, 24-bit 44.1. Then the 3 files that I upsampled to 88.2, this is the original file. So this alone will probably clarify a lot of things, because it looks like a master fader, but it's not, it's a Knox track. Simple voiceover. So what I did here, I'm gonna boost the signal because the residue is gonna be so low, what I'm about to show you. And in the first one, which is 16-bit, I did it for all 3. I opened a trim plugin, completely transparent, inverted the phase, and now I'm gonna play these 2 together and let's see what we have as a residue. Many of you will recognize what that is. That is dether, because we converted a 32-bit floating file into 16-bit. And the way I did it, of course, is the simplest way possible. I just click on the file on the 88.2 session, export clip as file, and you can see here in Pro Tools you have bit depth, and I just exported the same file at different bit depth. Pro Tools, like many other DAW, apply dether when you export directly a file and you downgrade the bit rate. Okay, so that's automatic. Same thing if you print something and you apply dether, it's gonna be the same. If we do the same with the 24-bit file, again with the phase inverted, that is the residue. If we do it with the 32-bit file, that's what we get. We get the spike at 22K. What is that? Who knows? Maybe it's the audio engine when you convert the file and then reconvert it. Maybe it's just Pro Tools, the audio engine, how it works. The point is, you get no benefit by upsampling your file to 88.2 or higher and then reconverted it to 4410. Okay, that's the only thing you get. That's the difference. Okay, there's no more detail, bit depth, or detail in the file itself. Everything that is over 20K, it's not gonna be there anyway. Foldback aliasing, again, I don't see any lower harmonics, so probably not, most likely not. And again, the aliasing problem is overblown, out of proportion. It was a problem that the very first generation of plugins with distortion and analog emulation had, because they didn't have oversampling, because they didn't think about that. It's not a problem with modern plugins for the most part, And also oversampling is, like I mentioned before, not even the best way to deal with it. Do you want to run your session at a higher sample rate even if you're given files at 44.1 because of plugins? Because plugins may or may not work better? Sure, it's a thing, it can be. How much is the difference is to your ears to decide if it's worth it, not worth it. If you're using outboard and you're recapturing, then for sure you want to recapture a higher sample rate, but that's a different subject, okay? That's not what the original video was about. I think this is it. I don't want to go into the aliasing debate. It's beaten to death, and it's a magnet for trolls, and I don't engage in that. I don't care. But I hope this video clarified a couple of things. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to leave a like. If you like the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Check the info box down below. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram because there's a lot of news coming up. And thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.